Today I'll be doing my presentation on the Siege of Ma'arra. So a little bit of background about this siege. So this siege occurred in 1098 in what is known as present-day Syria. The siege was led by Western Crusaders with the intention to raid the great city of Jerusalem, and on their path to build up food and other resources for the pillage, they destroyed and raided every city on the way, and unfortunately, the city of Ma'arra was one of them. So a little bit about Ma'arra. Ma'arra is a very peaceful city. There is no army or no kind of militia, so which creates the city of Ma'arra very susceptible and very defenseless against foreign societies. This city is very agriculturally based, revolving around the production of grapes, figs, and olives. Who exactly were affected? The people that were affected by the practice of cannibalism and the siege was the Arab-Syrian inhabitants of the city, which thousands were sadly slaughtered and killed in horrific ways. For what reason did cannibalism become the last resort? These European crusaders had to resort to cannibalism with reasons revolving around the society's food and resources that weren't simply enough for them for the crusade and the long journey ahead to Jerusalem. They had high expectations for what goods and food sources were there, and when they arrived and took over the city of Ma'arra, their expectations and what was brought forth to them was slightly under what they expected. So they weren't ready, and they had to resort to cannibalism as a result. Why? The meaning behind the Siege of Ma'arra is that it was great or lesser known as a pit stop pillage, because they pillaged the city with the hopes of receiving plenty of goods and food to last them to Jerusalem, which it didn't, hence why they practiced cannibalism. What they were trying to accomplish is to take away valuables, food, and other goods which they didn't receive in sufficient amounts. A couple of paintings that depicted the siege. Some artifacts found depicting this horrific date in our past is two paintings that stand very reliable as a primary source with this graphic images that is very telling of the Siege of Ma'arra. So the first painting that I'll be showing you is this painting that resembled the war during the siege, as the painting shows fighting and can easily be broken down with showing war and chaos within the walls of Ma'arra during the siege. As you could tell, you could see the citizens and the Western Crusaders fighting, as the Western Crusaders are struggling and trying to get over the wall to finally take over the city, to take all their goods and valuables so they could get all their sufficient amount of goods so they could go to Jerusalem. So the second primary source is very gruesome and very gory, as it depicts human bodies being cut up and what looks like to be prepared for cannibalism. A quote that I found about this siege from Rudolph of Cain, which was a part of the Western Crusaders. He said, quote, "In Ma'arra, our troops boiled pagan adults in cooking pots. They impaled children on spits and devoured them grilled." Rudolph of Cain was a Crusaders chronicler of the time. So, as he said, it is very gruesome and it is very horrible, hence why this is one of the worst cannibalistic times in history. This painting, as I said, shows the gore and graphic and disturbing reality of the aftermath of the siege, as cannibalism was practiced from the European Crusaders, who overestimated the amount of goods and valuables within the Arab-Syrian city. What this time in history contributed to the world. So what this siege contributed was that it donated to creating a figurative whole between the Arabs and people from the West that remain for centuries to come after. This date in history is hidden by the Westerners, but in Arab world is well known to all as a very vicious and horrific date. So what it is saying is the Westerners tend to ignore this date as it is very embarrassing, as you can tell, and the Arab keep it to heart as a horrific time and something that is very sensitive to them, so they can never forget that. In conclusion, revolving around the paintings found in this point in history, it helped greatly with finding all of this valuable information about our past, as these paintings and quotes contributed greatly with large amounts of detail in archiving the past.